Okay, Devon.
Okay. All right. Oh my goodness. It's so loud now. Just kidding. All right. Thanks everybody. We had a little bit of technical difficulties getting started, but that has seemed to finally surpass. We have 3 speakers. We only have 2 on the docket, but we have a third one because I met her last Friday, and I asked her if she would come and speak because I thought what she was doing was really cool, and also because I think her experience and her knowledge kind of has some input. Will have some input into what's going on right now with current events with Canada. So, my name is Chris Groshong, and I run a company called Coinstructive. We've been here since 2015, helping companies do compliance and investigations. So if you ever get scammed out of your crypto, please come talk to us. There's a couple other people here that work for us, and they'll help you out. Second thing, our sponsors tonight. Our sponsors, Bit Refill, because you saw the pizza and the beer that we had tonight. So shout out to Bit Refill for their donations. Also want to shout out to Edge for hosting the event tonight. And also my company helps sponsor a little bit too. So, but those are the big sponsors of our event tonight. Without them, it couldn't happen. So our 3 speakers tonight are, and I'm not sure exactly what the order is. Apologies for that. But Josh Swihart from Zcash, Electric Coin Company, is here. And Robin Whitney from Acala is also here. And then our speaker who's going to come up right now, her name is Alexandra. She is from a company called Liquid, and they work on the Lightning Network. So please put your hands together for Alexandra.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to try to explain what we do and what I do in 5 minutes. Should be all right. So our value prop is bringing $10 billion to the Lightning Network. So I'm Vice President of Product of Liquid, which is a Lightning Network company. That's actually an acronym. It's a little bit confusing because there's the Liquid protocol that Blockstream has. Liquid actually stands for Lightning Quick Worldwide Delivery, and that's what we aim to do. Okay, so something about us. So we provide structure, which I think is going to be really important to the payments space, because in order for any significant money to flow into the system, you need to have certain capital controls. So we are the world's first publicly traded company, and we are focused exclusively on the Lightning Network. We are Bitcoin only. We are currently forming strategic partnerships. So we can't say exactly what those are just at the moment, but we'll be announcing a few of those in the next few weeks. And we have a very experienced team. So our CEO has been in Bitcoin since 2012, and our CTO since 2011. We are a highly ranked liquidity provider. So that is, if you want to scan that takes you directly to our page on 1ML. I'll leave that up for a couple of seconds, and when I'm done, I'll switch back to that. Currently, we are working on 23 strategically placed nodes around the world. We have 8 of those stood up already. So we have Liquid West, we have Tokyo, we have Singapore, Frankfurt, South Africa, a couple others. And those will all be up very, very soon. So the idea that the reason why we have these strategically placed is we're experimenting really with latency, and that's what the value prop is going to be eventually. So we want to make sure that we provide the structure for people to be able to connect. We want to make sure that it's a very strong, solid network. And because of that, we're also experimenting with edge tech. So that will be things like satellite. That's not announced yet, but we do have a Blockstream satellite server, and we're going to be playing with that. Not server, we have a base kit. And then also dedicated servers. So we have some dedicated servers in our office that we're going to be standing up very soon. So why does our company exist? This is something that our CEO, Sean Anstey, who's also in the compliance space, you may know him, he developed Clue. His former company was Blockchain Intelligence Group, and he's done a lot of analytics. He's worked with a lot of law enforcement and provided, I guess, a lot of help to people who have been in tough positions. So he thinks that once we solve channel balancing and liquidity management, we unlock the power of the Lightning Network. So we're probably about 1.5 years away from that. Maybe sooner, maybe later, but we'll see. Once that happens, it's going to be absolutely explosive. So imagine the internet in like 1996, maybe. Yeah. Oh, got 2 minutes. Okay. One of our other beliefs is better money, better rails. So we believe that Bitcoin is the 8th layer of the internet, and we're essentially unlocking that through the Lightning Network through scale, speed, and lower fees. Proof of work, this is about me. So I have the Advanced Tech Podcast, which is a podcast show. It's been around for probably about 5 years, and we focus on emerging tech. So Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, VR. I talk to some of the people who have created foundational aspects of the commercial internet as we know it today. I'm executive director of the Open Crypto Foundation, which is kind of operating in dark mode for the moment. I'll switch to our socials in a moment so you can follow us. I'm president of Decentralized Vancouver Chapter, which is going to be changing brand very soon, as it'll be known as Vancouver Bitcoiners. I'm a contributor to Citadel 21, BTC Times, and I have a bunch of anonymous works out there. I'm part of the leadership team of Team Satoshi, which is a group of Bitcoiners, and we believe in fitness and Bitcoin and all those good things. And primarily, I'm a connector and game changer, which sounds completely egotistical, but really that's what I do. I love connecting people. Instead of just accepting things for how they are, I like asking, what can we do better and how can we unlock that? Here's where you can find me and where you can find Liquid. So I'm primarily on Twitter, and Vancouver Bitcoiners will be announcing, we actually have an event this the 24th, which is this Thursday. We will be live streaming it because it's from Vancouver, and we'll be connecting with a few other groups. Open Crypto X, follow us there. We'll be announcing something soon. And then Team Satoshi O for Team Satoshi Bitcoiner events. That's it.
Thanks, Alexandra. If you have questions for her, she'll be around for a while, and you can catch her after the event. And so, just while I have you up here, can you talk just briefly about, just for like a minute or so, about with what's going on in Canada right now and how Lightning can be used in a way to help add privacy?
Yeah, so right now, the Lightning Network has about 50% of the nodes that are connected are run through Tor. There's multiple hops on the network, so it's quite interesting in that aspect. Is it going to be perfect privacy? No. But is it better privacy? Yes. And privacy is always a bit of a compromise. I mean, you can't have perfect privacy, but you can always do a little bit better. And, there's always going to be people who are, looking to find out your info. Cybersecurity can be a little bit of a game and a little bit of, anyway, I'm sure you all know. But Lightning Network has a lot of really interesting privacy implications, and it's Bitcoin native, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome. I don't think a lot of people knew that Bitcoin adds extra privacy to your transactions while being on the network that everybody loves. Feels like it's a telecom commercial. On the network everybody loves, and like T-Mobile guys pop out or something.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alexandra.
Of course.
Let's give Alexandra another round of applause. Thank you. And coming up next to the stage is Robin Whitney of Acala.
Hey, thanks guys for bearing with me. Yeah, we're good. I know. Let me see, is there a way to hide my toolbar up here? I guess it doesn't matter. All right, cool. Yeah, great to see you guys. There's a lot of folks here, so it's awesome to have these in-person events again. I'm Whitney. I'm Director of Marketing at Acala. Also Karura, that's our secondary experimental layer one. I'll go into some details in a little bit. Feel free to follow me. You can reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to onboard you guys to the Polkadot ecosystem. How many folks here know a little bit about Polkadot? Okay, yeah. I thought I was going to be speaking to some folks who were coming in and zero, so that's really great. And if you're new to it, it's cool. Evidently have a lot of help in the crowd to help me here. Cool. So we'll just do some, not introductions, but an overview of Polkadot, overview of Acala and Karura. So I can't really talk about Acala without talking about Polkadot. You know, what is Polkadot? It's kind of a ecosystem of ecosystems, as they're calling it. It's a multi-chain network of heterogeneous shards. They're called parachains. So every layer one network is called a parachain in the Polkadot ecosystem. And Polkadot secures and provides native interoperability to 100 plus parachains. They actually, I think Gavin Woods expects it to be about like thousands of connected interoperable layer ones. So it's a unique environment. Projects like Acala, they're able to connect to the Polkadot relay chain, and they inherit these great features like plug-and-play security, cross-chain functionality, on-chain governance, self-upgradability, because all these parachains, they're what we call future-proof, because they could all be upgraded through forkless upgrades. So it's not like some other blockchain environments where you're kind of stuck with the architecture you have until a very long thought out governance process occurs. In the Polkadot ecosystem, we kind of plan for the environment and architecture and markets to change, and all the needs of the ecosystem to change. So we push through updates pretty quickly. But most importantly, parachain networks launching on Polkadot are able to customize their blockchains. So each parachain network, that's each layer one blockchain that's connected to Polkadot, is able to customize their infrastructure at the blockchain level for whatever use case they need. So there's parachains that are for social media. There's parachains for data. There's parachains for gaming. But in Acala's case, we customize for DeFi. And I'll explain a little bit how we do that. So more about Polkadot. It's maybe you realize that it was founded by Gavin Wood. So Gavin Wood is the co-founder of and the CTO of Ethereum. He was the primary developer who implemented Vitalik's white paper, and he invented the EVM, the Ethereum Virtual Machine, which is the infrastructure that all devs are building on. So he invented Solidity programming, and he actually parted ways with Ethereum, kind of realizing that it was going to have some scalability problems that we're experiencing right now. And so he decided to kind of go on his own path. He started Polkadot to solve some problems, challenges that Polkadot set out to solve were, scalability, customization for specific use cases, like I just mentioned. These applications for on-chain governance and cross-chain communication between blockchains. So he really reached this ecosystem where there's a Polkadot relay chain. It's connected to these ecosystems on ecosystems. And they're all out-of-the-box interoperable. They're able to just plug in and basically access this huge economy of many independent but composable layer ones. So Acala kind of is shown here. We're our own layer one network, and we are plugged here into the relay chain. We actually just launched a little bit ago. And we have a huge amount of products and dApps and use cases ready to go. I'll go into details a little bit here. So we were excited to be the first winner of the parachain slot auctions, which awarded us the privilege to be among the first 5 networks to launch on Polkadot. If you're not familiar with how parachain slot auctions work, they, they sort of, there's a system in the ecosystem of Polkadot where you kind of hold teams accountable to have a strong community, to have all of this liquidity in place and all of this development in place before you launch. This is kind of to address like the ICO era. This was part of the design of the Polkadot economy. So basically they have this automated permissionless auction system, and teams like Acala or anyone else is going to be launching their own parachain network, they essentially bid for the privilege to connect. They're leasing a slot, we call it. So when you lease a parachain slot, you know, you basically are in competition with other folks who hope to have that same slot. And one way that you can strengthen your bid is through crowd loans, and this is kind of like a permissionless Kickstarter. So Acala had a really successful crowd loan. That means that our own community locked their DOT, sort of pledged their DOT in support of us, in support of our win. And they would lock their DOT for 2 years, which is the length of our parachain slot lease. And when that's over, they'll get all of their DOT back. But in the meantime, they'll have been benefited from some reward schemes that different parachains offer to anyone who supports them. But you know, long story short, we basically generated the most support, the most DOT locked from our community, and we were able to push in the strongest bid during this auction. And because of that, we were the first winners of Polkadot parachain slot auctions, and we were able to launch not long ago. December 18th, 2021 was our genesis. So Acala is an Ethereum-compatible smart contract platform, and we're optimized for DeFi. We're currently celebrating our early adopter launches of our applications that are built on top of the layer 1. That includes an AMM-style DEX, kind of like Uniswap. It includes a staking derivative that's called Liquid Dot. I'll go into more details on Liquid Dot in a second. It's a little heady. But we also have our core product, which is the Akala Dollar, a decentralized multi-collateral stablecoin. So let me dig into the folks here who came up with this. So Betty Chen, Ru Tao, Fu Yao, Brian Chen, awesome stellar team. Betty and Ru Tao are blockchain product managers originally, and they actually vetted a few different code-based architectures in the crypto space. And they eventually settled on Substrate, which is Polkadot's underlying architecture. And they decided to enter the Substrate, one of the first Substrate hackathons that was held by Polkadot. One of the judges of that hackathon was Brian Chen. He actually leads the Substrate Developer Academy that funnels in new developers into a Substrate ecosystem. And we're now at a point where we have developers who never even touched Solidity. Like their first education in development is through the Polkadot language, which is great. If you're not a developer, bear with me. I promise we'll get into more about the DeFi dApps. The founder of Polka Wallet is Fu Yao. He also was brought in. That's a multi-currency wallet, one of the leading wallets in the Polkadot space. Of course, there's so many multi-currency wallets, and I think that in this multi-chain future, I know on the Twitter Spaces call yesterday, Edge announced that they would be also including some DOT assets too, so that's cool. Yeah, so the 4 of them, they met at that hackathon, and they sort of began to code and see that they had similar Web3 ambitions. They had some really similar ethos in like what we're trying to scale, and I think that maybe a lot of folks here are working on in different projects in the space. And they evaluated a few different ecosystems I mentioned. So Ethereum, ETH2, Cosmos, and they chose to build on Polkadot. They launched this custom layer 1 to support a new DeFi ecosystem. So they definitely saw the potential that's playing out today. that there's these interoperable parachains launching, thousands more to come, each with their own ecosystem of dApps, like truly an ecosystem of ecosystems. And the Akala core team knew that early on, all of these stakeholders shared a common need in a decentralized stablecoin, because you need a stablecoin, right, to basically make all the interactions of all of these dApps function. Not only like audiences of like users, but developers need it to plug into what they're building. Projects need it for their yield engines. So the Web3 Foundation actually gave them a grant to develop the AUSD stablecoin protocol. And they followed that up by designing Acala as an application-specific blockchain to support AUSD. So this includes like the system of dApps that support and operate the stablecoin, like the Acala swap DEX actually helps with capital efficiency and liquidations of stablecoin. And when I'm talking about stablecoin, if you ever use like MakerDAO or you like minted, you collateralize your assets and you like mint a stablecoin and you create a vault and you kind of monitor the health of that vault based on the collateralized assets under it. This is similar, it's just in the Polkadot ecosystem. I would say there's 4 types of stablecoins, and this one is multi-collateral, so it's backed by a basket of assets. Yeah, so all these other protocols that we built are actually all supporting and surrounding this core product, which is the stablecoin. So flash forward after they met and they received that Web3 grant and they went on to build an entire blockchain around it. Now Akala has 50 folks building across the world. We're primarily made up of engineering, technical, and product experts. The founders are based in New Zealand, but we're also in Shanghai. I'm in Los Angeles, and we're hiring. So if anybody sees a job they like on akala.network/jobs or speak to me, I'll put you in touch with our talent manager. We're also supported by these fantastic backers. Most recently, I think Coinbase Ventures came aboard, but a lot of other great folks there. I just actually met a few in ETH Denver, was really nice, Arrington Capital, and Hypersphere. And I'm just going to go over a little bit of our tech stack. So as I mentioned, we're plugged into the layer 0 here. By plugging into Polkadot, we have this inherent security. Out of the box, we have this cross-chain capability. It's hard to see these 2 bridges that are coming in, but we have Ren and Interlay working on BTC bridges that are going to be launching soon. We have Snowfork that's actually doing the ETH bridge. So automatically, by winning the Parachain slot auction and launching in December, we plug into this capability that helps the team bootstrap and really just have this awesome environment to connect into. Then we have actually our DeFi optimized platform. So I mentioned Acala Swap over on the left there. My left, yeah, yours too? Cool. So Acala Swap is sort of like Uniswap. It's an AMM style DEX. Then we have liquid staking, which is LDOT. So maybe you guys are familiar with proof of stake. There's an incentivization for everyone to stake a native asset to support the network, to help, with the decentralization and security. So in the Polkadot ecosystem, currently, like if you stake a DOT, you'll get, I believe, 14% APR, just as an incentive to stake. But what we thought about with liquid staking is that just locks up the asset. Like all of this liquidity is locked. You're earning staking rewards, sure, but it's not circulating. It's not supporting the economy that we're building. So what we do on Acala is you can take your DOT if you were going to be staking on Kraken or Polkadot JS or anywhere else, and you could stake it on Acala, and we'll give you a derivative asset. So it's unlocked. It's representative of your underlying staked asset, so you're still earning staking rewards. But the asset you receive is unlocked. It's yield bearing because it has one part, the collateralized, like the underlying asset that's staking. I should have brought a water up here. And then also, because it's unlocked, it's able to be utilized in a couple different DeFi protocols. So, if I'm staking DOT for 14% APR on Acala, I receive LDOT, which is unlocked. I can suddenly do something cool with it. I could collateralize for a stablecoin loan. So that means I'm maintaining my DOT exposure while also being able to mint stablecoin, that which I can use for other sort of investment opportunities. Then, that's just one option for LDOT. There's a few other ways to take advantage of some DeFi protocols, but the main point is that it's a derivative asset of the underlying stake. So kind of an interesting market. I'm going to zoom through really quick. Thank you. We also launched a couple other things here. I'll just mention really quick. We have on-chain governance. We have oracles that are really familiar oracle providers like Chainlink, BAN protocol. We have Treasury. So actually, the Akala Treasury is the community funded the Treasury to the tune of like 88 million DOT, which is quite large. So we're essentially a protocol DAO. That means ACA holders, that's our native token, ACA holders manage and actually run the governance and all the economic initiatives and sustainability of the blockchain. They're able to use that treasury to fund all sorts of programs. We also have a feature called Bring Your Own Gas. That means that you can use any token to pay transaction fees. So it's kind of nice if you have, once the bridges are live, if you're coming with BTC, if you're coming in with ETH, and you don't have our native token yet, that friction is like, lessened because you're able to pay transaction fees with the tokens you already have. And then we have the Akala EVM. So this is a Ethereum compatible EVM that we just launched, so that anyone launching dApps on Ethereum, or they already have standing dApps, they could basically port over and use familiar tool sets. They could use MetaMask, they could use Truffle, Waffle. If you're a developer, you know what those are. I'm gonna skip ahead. But this is kind of the cool thing I'm really excited about. We have these key integrations. We were awarded a grant by Compound. So we are building the bridge between Compound Protocol on Ethereum and Acala. We're basically bringing the DOT environment, all the DOT assets over there, and vice versa. But one cool partnership is Current.com. So Current.com is a US fintech app. If you've ever been in New York, you've probably seen their ads in the subway. It's kind of relentless. But they have 3 million US customers. I think they mostly target millennials and younger, but it's incentivized savings account, checkings account. Now what we're doing for them is sort of DeFi as a service. Like we all kind of maybe using some DeFi dApps. We're using maybe staking, we're using some exchanges. Maybe we're doing lending and borrowing. That's cool, and we know about it. We come to these meetings and we share ideas. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, not everybody can have a cool meeting like this to learn about this stuff. So Current.com is doing something where we're plugging in under the hood. We're basically going to be integrating our yield engines, our arbitrage bots, our stablecoin, all of the protocols I just mentioned. They go under the hood, and there are 3 million US customers don't really know they're using DeFi. It's kind of a cool, I think, breakout case that we're about to see this year is where DeFi becomes a service. We call it hybrid finance, where it's like a hybrid of traditional finance and DeFi. And that's just one example of a partnership that we're working on. So I mentioned the Akala Treasury. ACA holders manage and fund everything for self-sustainability and growth. And then just we'll go through Akala by the numbers here. So at launch in December, we had 200,000 token holders. The 3 million from Current are the fintech users waiting to onboard, and we have a 600 million plus total value locked right now. And I mentioned here, I know I'm getting the time, but we're at the beginning. We're babies. we basically launched 2 months ago, as did all of the Polkadot parachains. So we're at the chain level. We're bringing online our primitives, which are all of the protocols I just mentioned, the DEX, the liquid staking, the stablecoin. We currently have an early adopter program going. You may need to be a little more vetted in the DeFi space to know how to use stuff, but we're very supportive. We have user guides for you if you're interested in trying out our dApps. And Then we're kind of moving up to what our real goal is getting retail payments, getting TradeFi, getting fintech involved. So current.com was the integration I mentioned where we are snapping DeFi under the hood. But yeah, that's just the beginning. We have a few things under our hat that I can't wait to announce. But right now we have this 1 million ACA kickoff rewards program. This is just an example of some yield farming initiatives that we have for our early adopters. Right now we have some LPs, some stablecoin, and just some staking initiatives if you guys are interested. All right, I think I maybe breeze through here and just get to the end because I know you guys want to get to the next speaker and want to hear from him. Yeah, let's just do this. If you guys want to stay in touch with me, you could feel free to scan the QR code. You could follow anything. Oh, I do have some more time. Okay, cool. I'll do it. All right, guys, this is going to get wild. So Polkadot actually has a second ecosystem called Kusama. Maybe you guys know about it. Oh, there's questions. Oh, okay. Sure. I'll just breeze through this really quick. Akala has a secondary blockchain. It's kind of, Kusama is known as like the innovation, faster version of Polkadot. Governance is in 7 days. Upgrades happen in 7 days. So it's a place where people can kind of do this testing ground with live assets. It's kind of amazing. So we were able to actually battle test Acala already with a project called Karura. That's up and running. It has its own ecosystem of users. It has its own yield farming opportunities and all of the same dApps, but they're kind of just iterating in a different direction. And that's because it's a fast, bold, riskier environment. So that's kind of a unique part of the Polkadot ecosystem. I just wanted to mention it because you may learn a lot of projects in the Polkadot ecosystem have split personalities. Our split personality is Karura. It's connected to Kusama and it's a little faster. And then we have, this is why $17 billion market cap on Polkadot. It's a little more institutional. You want the projects and the protocols to be battle tested in the environment of Kusama. It's a $1.16 billion market cap and a lot of passionate users who like to move fast and break stuff. So we have these two protocols, or we have these two layer 1 blockchains, and a ton of products, a DeFi suite on top of them both. So there's plenty of places to play if you're interested in testing out some DeFi. All right, I'm going to just jump to the back here. If you guys want to scan and stay in touch with me, you can join Akala's community channels. You could check out the ambassador program. If you're a builder, you could reach out for Akala grants. We have that really large treasury. We also have a backers development fund. So there's lots of ways to stand up your dApp. And if you're a DeFi user, please try the dApps. I mean, we're at really early days. We're only 2 months old. So some of the protocols are brand new. May need some help, but I'm happy to get you there. Does anyone have any questions? Just like a minute.
Yeah, here's a question here.
So you hear a lot about like the battle of the alt L1s right now, and a lot of them already have, right? Avalanche had a $180 million program, and you got all the other guys battling it out. Why would somebody choose to build on Akala as opposed to these other blockchains that already have tons of users and these other protocols?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons, but I mean, like the one that comes to mind right away is we are the #1 Polkadot code contributor beside the Polkadot team themselves. We're really hooked in with the leads and the core team of Polkadot. So it's like you have this white glove service for launching your dApp where you maybe are in a lot of competition with a lot of folks who are we call it like a open gate attitude. Like some layer 1s are like anybody build, just go for it. We have more of like a curatorial approach. We really want the first 100, the first 300 dApps to have a white glove service to be really valuable for the ecosystem.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else?
All right, looks like there's no more questions
Cool.
for Robin. Thank you. Oh, hold on. You got to follow up.
That's where the Treasury comes in. So the Treasury, which is managed by the ACA holders, our ACA holder community, basically everyone who runs the protocol DAO. By having ACA, you're automatically like governing the protocol DAO. They may, in fact, decide to self-fund the parachain lease, not have a crowd loan, but just bid with the Treasury. So there's kind of this built-in, as before we even launched, we did our Treasury funding. So there's this built-in initiative to be able to like sustain for 2, 4, 6 years. Yeah.
And why would Acala, the token, have any value if I can pay gas fees and anything?
Can you repeat the question?
So
Hold on. Repeat the question into the mic.
The Acala token, if I'm paying gas fees and whatever coin or token I want, where's the value of the token coming from?
Yeah. I'll throw this up again because it's kind of cool. So every one of these protocols kind of help each other thrive, and they're all interconnected. So gas fee transactions are settled under the hood with the Acala DEX. So if you're using cross-chain BTC to pay your transaction fees, what's actually happening is it's going through and swapping under an Acala swap. So essentially ACA is at the heart of every one of these. And so there's always like a use case for a utility rather. Yeah.
Thank you, Robin. Let's put our hands together
Yeah,
for Robin
thanks,
of Acala.
guys.
All right. So just a quick reminder before we bring up our next speaker that we do a lightning round after all the speakers are done. So after Josh is finished presenting, if you're interested, please line up over here off to the side on your left-hand side of the stage so that we can, we'll take five or six people, and you each get a minute to talk about whatever you want. No pitches, but feel free to promote your project or yourself and talk about things that you're interested in, and let people know what it is that you're doing in the community or what you're looking for to get involved with, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help build the community, and this is where we live, and so we want to welcome as many people as we can to feel like they're also a part of the community. It's not just always about just showing up and listening to the speakers, but if you want to participate, this is the place to get started. That's how I got started. That's how a lot of people got started. And so please feel free afterwards to stand up over here and get ready for our lightning round. And without further ado, here's our speaker, Josh, from Zcash Electric Coin Company.
Listen to that voice, man. All right. So I don't know how I managed to get the Britney Spears microphone. I promise you all the clothes are staying on, though. And I was also promised warm weather when I came out here to California. I heard San Diego is like always 80 and sunny, and I came from Denver and cold. So this isn't too bad. I heard the rain scared some people away, which I don't quite understand either. But all right, so I'm going to talk about Zcash, but I want to do a little contest. So it's not going to be easy. So this is a Bose Zcash branded Bose speaker. It doesn't keep all your music private, but if you want it, I'm looking for the first person to send me a Zcash shielded transaction with a memo field that includes your shielded address. If you can do that and show it to me, then you win the speaker, the first one. I'm going to go off this slide, but this is also on my Twitter account. So you can go to my Twitter account. It's at Swihart, and I posted that address on there on something related to this event as well. So you can go there, send it to me. Now, I will say, if you have to use a shielded, it has to be shielded Zcash, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Currently, my favorite wallet is Edge, my favorite multi-currency wallet. However, there's one little problem today that will be changed very soon, and that you can't send a memo yet, an encrypted memo with Edge. But you can go get another wallet called Zec Wallet, which is not a multi-currency wallet. It's just a Zcash shielded wallet, and that will work. And then when Edge has it, then you can switch. All right. So I work for the Electric Coin Company. have a very long title, the Senior Vice President of Growth and Product Strategy and Regulatory Relations. So a bunch of stuff that's all kind of externally facing. So Zcash is a digital currency that launched in 2016. It's a fork of Bitcoin. And it was the first practical application of something called zero-knowledge proofs, which we'll get into here in a second. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history and context, tell you how it works, and then where it's going. So when we talk about this, often we talk about this in terms of Zcash being the HTTPS for money. So you guys know what that means, right? So if you use a browser today, everything's encrypted HTTPS. Because back in the day, when things first started, when I was in college, yes, I'm old, the Mosaic browser came out, and the Mosaic browser supported HTTP. And all of the traffic that went through the Mosaic browser, I can't see without my glasses. All right, all the traffic that came through the Mosaic browser was unencrypted. So when encryption first kind of came out, and you had tools like PGP, there was a huge battle in the US. They wouldn't allow you to export it because it was for national security reasons. And part of what happened with that battle is people started printing it out, printing out the code and putting it on t-shirts and putting it in books because that's free speech. Eventually Netscape added encryption to its browser, and that kicked off everything. That kicked off the commerce on the web. So this is what it looks like. HTTP, everything's visible. You put your credit card information in there, somebody's going to steal it. Encryption, nobody can see that stuff, nobody can steal it. So Bitcoin is a lot like HTTP. So what you can see, right, is this is just a representation of a block explorer, but you can see the sender, you can see the recipient, you can see the amount, and you can trace back through all of their history. So if somebody's able to associate you with that address, then they can see your financial history. It was necessary at the time when Bitcoin was enabled because of decentralization, right? We needed all of the nodes to be able to see all of the transactions and validate that it was all true, so that we knew that if Sally spent a Bitcoin, that Bitcoin was Sally's, and everybody could validate it. So Toshi was trying to figure it out. There's a post from him. He said, it's a very interesting topic. If a solution was found, a much better, easier, more convenient implementation of Bitcoin would be possible. And he was trying to figure out, both he and Halfeni were trying to figure out how to add zero knowledge to Bitcoin. But they couldn't, and they thought pseudonymity would be good enough. Fast forward, some scientists figured it out. Scientists out of MIT and Johns Hopkins University, Technion, Tel Aviv, they figured out how to take zero knowledge cryptography, which was invented in MIT in the 1980s, and apply it to Bitcoin. And they approached the Bitcoin core team. So how many people know what zero knowledge is? Or zero knowledge cryptography? A little bit. So zero knowledge cryptography is just math, very complicated math, that allows you to prove something is true without disclosing anything about kind of the data behind it. So if you can imagine maybe going into a liquor store, and when you go into a liquor store to buy liquor, what are they going to do? With me, they don't card me anymore, but they may card you, and they take a look at your ID. And what can they see, right? They can see your name, your date of birth, your address, all kinds of things. So imagine you have creepy liquor store guy has all of that information visible. What if instead you could just provide a proof that you're old enough to buy the alcohol without revealing any of that information? That's what zero knowledge cryptography provides. So Sergey Brin calling it mind-boggling, Vitalik, moon math, but it's very complicated stuff. So that group of scientists went and talked to the Bitcoin core team. They say, let's add it to Bitcoin. Bitcoin core team said, hell no. The cryptography is way too novel. So instead, what you should do is you should fork Bitcoin and add it there as an experiment. And if it works, then we'll think about adding it to Bitcoin. So that group of 7 scientists reach out to that guy, who I don't know if you can see. It says Zuko's blog. This is Satoshi's website. So Zuko, who's the founder of Zcash, wrote the first blog about Bitcoin, he was in kind of that old OG kind of cypherpunk world. So Zuko and a core of people took the Bitcoin core team, or Bitcoin core code, forked it, and added zero knowledge on top of it. And today, which that doesn't come out very well, Zcash is basically anywhere you can do crypto. There's some countries we can talk about later that have banned it for various reasons, but here in the United States, it's very pervasive. So some of the reasons they banned it, right, is because people think privacy is for criminals. But privacy is not really for criminals, right? Privacy is a human right. There's a famous quote from Edward Snowden arguing that you don't care about your right to privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different than saying you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say. So here's how Zcash works. I'm going to give you some examples of how it's being used also. So Zcash has two types of addresses. One is transparent, which is just like just the same way that Bitcoin works, and the other is shielded, which has that zero knowledge cryptography on top of it. Not all places accept both types. Again, just as a quick reminder, this is what things look like on the Block Explorer with Bitcoin. This is kind of what it looks like with Zcash, depending on how you're using it. So you can have everything from everything completely encrypted to disclosing some information about where it's being sent or how it's being received. This is an example. Can you guys see this okay? All right, so it's like a little washed out. So I did this afternoon. This is my Edge wallet right up here. I have Zcash in there. And this is a transaction that I did like, I don't know, January 28th. So I went and looked at that on a Block Explorer. So I can go on my Edge wallet, I can go to View Advanced Transaction Data. It opens up Blockchair. It pulls up this transaction. And what can I see? I can see the fee. I can see that there were shielded inputs and outputs, but I can't see anything else about it. Senders, it shows shielded. The sender. Recipients, it shows shielded. You can't see anything. This is Bitcoin. Different transaction I pulled up today. You can see the sender, that address. I can see that they sent $226 worth of Bitcoin. I can see the recipient that received that, and then I can see the change, right? What's happening with all of these is all of these addresses are being labeled. They're being labeled by exchanges. They're being labeled by folks like Chain Analysis. There's even folks that are creating like these open source models that allow people to tag these addresses, so more and more they know kind of where the money's flowing, because they say they want to catch bad guys. But all that data is being collected. And we've seen some of the implications of some of this. Did you guys see this news? Yep. Okay, so where they were saying, by the way, Paul, I loved your blog post, or whoever put that out there in response to this. It was brilliant. But they were trying to block addresses. They're shutting down people that were donating to the truckers, regardless of your politics, regardless of what you think they were doing in the right or the wrong. The government stepped in, said, we're going to freeze this, and you can't have access to your own money. And we're going to do that based upon the addresses. We're going to track your flows, and then we're going to shut you down. This is a friend of mine, Mo Ghashim. Mo Ghashim is Syrian. He was a wealthy businessman, and he protested the Assad government. They shut down his assets. They took his homes. They took his businesses. He had to leave the country. He had to rebuild in Jordan. That's how he got into cryptocurrency. Now he goes around teaching Syrian refugees how to protect their assets from seizure and how to do it privately and securely. This one I saw just came up today. This was Mark Andreessen posted this. The Bank of England tells ministers to intervene on digital currency programming. They want to be able to program it so much that the government can completely control how and when you can spend your money. And if they give you money and they can track it to you, and they say, we want you to spend it on certain goods and services, but not other things, they want the ability to pull it back. This is Thais, and Thais lives in the South Bronx, and we do education programs in the South Bronx. We were teaching about Bitcoin, and she was looking at this stuff and looking at the block explorers, and she says, I can't use Bitcoin. I was like, Thais, why can't you use Bitcoin? She said, because if I have a wallet and I exchange Bitcoin with somebody in my building, then they can see my address and they can see how much is in my wallet, and I'm not safe. So when we talk about a wrench attack, right, theoretical wrench attack, she's living that. She's saying, I can't use it. I have to have privacy in order to secure myself. This is in the US, right? This isn't Mogashim, Syrian. This is in our own backyard, and this is the kind of the realities of cryptocurrency and having open blockchains. So there are two organizations that are working on Zcash, Electric Coin Company, which I work for, and the Zcash Foundation, which is a separate 501c3. Electric Coin Company, by the way, is also a 501c3. We have kind of some unique funding in that we get funded on-chain. So the community votes every 4 years to determine who they want to fund and how. So ECC receives 7% of the block rewards. It's currently a proof of stake chain. Miners have 80%. The Zcash Foundation gets 5%, and then 8% goes to a grants pool to pay for other developers. So some of the stuff that's now coming that we're really focused on, ECC is really focused on building a world-class UX for ZAC. So we know UX for crypto is pretty terrible in most cases, and we want people to be able to use it safely and securely and easily. Our next big network upgrade is Network Upgrade 5. We tend to have one every, 6 months to a year. Network Upgrade 5 includes a couple different things. I'll take you back a little bit in history. So part of zero knowledge, if you're not familiar, required something called a trusted setup in the beginning, and it required that different participants create a key that then gets destroyed. Interestingly, 5 of those participants are known, of the initial ones. 1 is not. In the setup of this, by the way, it has nothing to do with privacy. It has to do with whether or not people can potentially counterfeit coins. And so you want to avoid counterfeiting, right? When you have private and everything's private, then you can't see maybe how much is out there. So that gets really tricky. But in about 6 weeks, the 6th person will be revealed. So it'll be pretty interesting. So look for that. So this includes Network Upgrade 5 includes Halo, second iteration of Halo, which is a new zero-knowledge cryptography, which I won't get into, but it eliminates trusted setup, so that's no longer an issue anymore. It includes something called unified addresses that allows for different address types under a single address, which allows for something called shielded by default. So today, it's very computationally intensive and difficult with like HSMs to send Zcash shielded, like from an exchange. That was my countdown. From an exchange to a shielded wallet. So we're making that easier to allow for somebody to send from any exchange and have those funds automatically shielded. We'll be releasing a wallet so that we can kind of experiment with new features. We're doing some fun campaign stuff. This is Cypherpunk 0. We come from a long line of cypherpunks at Zcash. This campaign actually will launch tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time. It includes a toy from Mighty Jacks and NFTs and a prologue and some comics and some fun stuff. So if you're interested in getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning to buy a toy, you can do that and get that through Mighty Jacks. We have some partnerships with Protocol Labs, Filecoin Foundation, and Ethereum Foundation. So Halo, one of the things that Halo provides is recursive proofs. So right now you have blockchains that get passed along to every node, right? And when they get passed along to every node, that's a huge amount of data that just circulates over and over and over again. So one of the things that Halo provides, this new zero-knowledge cryptography, is the ability to send a proof that the prior state was true without having to send around the whole chain. over and over again. So there's other protocols that are interested in seeing if they can apply that to their chains. So one is Protocol Labs, along with Filecoin Foundation, and then the other is Ethereum Foundation for Ethereum. Okay, so that's the stuff that's coming. The other things that we're doing is we're evaluating a move to proof of stake. We're looking at some platforms like Polkadot, like Cosmos. We're looking at cross-chain interop, and doing some marketing and regulatory stuff. We're starting to play more in DeFi. There's some synthetic options that are out there. There's some more stuff that will come. We're doing these programs, like I mentioned, in the South Bronx. And then some others in the community are doing some other interesting things like ZSA. And ZSA stands for Zcash Shielded Asset, which would allow you to effectively take Bitcoin and shield it on the Zcash chain, or take your Ethereum and shield it. So we're working through the possibilities of that. And then finally, there's also grants. So again, if you're a developer and you want to work on this stuff, 8% of the total mining reward continues to feed this fund. So you can go to the Zcash Open Major Grants organization, request funds, and there's various projects available to work on. So that's Zcash.
Thanks, Josh. Do we have questions? I got a question up front right here.
Yeah, this NFT thing you got going on tomorrow, is this a Zcash native NFT? And how long has Zcash been having NFTs, if that's the case?
It's just total marketing. So what it is like we've created this character because we want to kind of highlight this kind of potential dystopian world against this what could be, right? And so we've created this character. There's a series of comic books. Part of that is there's toy that's available, and then the NFTs are actually being minted on Ethereum. So they're Ethereum-based NFTs, and they're just things that we're giving away. So they'll be part of a toy purchase, and there'll be some other characters that come later.
What's the case for Zcash over Pirate Chain, which is private by default using ZK snarks, or Monero, which is private by default using ring signatures?
Yeah, so Pirate Chain is like a fork, right? Yep. So, and for example, like Halo is not available on Pirate Chain. So it's still a trusted setup. It's just copying code. They're not leading, as far as I know, anything. It's all kind of.
Well, I guess the question is like, why Zcash, which is optionally private, versus something that's private by default? Yep.
So there's a couple of reasons that optional privacy is actually not a bad thing, but this is argued a lot in the community. So one, for example, with the original cryptography, with zero-knowledge cryptography, it was too computationally intensive to work on a mobile device until recently, until we invented Sapling. You couldn't do it from an exchange until we got Sapling and started working with HSMs to be able to provide that. So Pirate Chain isn't kind of leading any of that innovation. They're not supported in those places. But also on the optional privacy, there's one thing really important to understand with privacy is really you don't get privacy from the transaction. You get privacy from where the money is stored. So if I've got a shielded Zcash wallet, and I send you have a transparent Zcash wallet, and I send you a transaction. For me, it's private. Nobody knows where it came from, right? For you, it might be open. There's different ways of handling that, but it may be like, I want to give to a political candidate. They need to keep that open. They want to see all that transaction stuff being open. They want it audited, all of that kind of stuff. That makes sense in that case. Some of it is just the history again. So the history being, like to get on Coinbase or any other exchange, they could not support shielded transactions. Some still can't or won't. There's two in the world that do, Gemini and the Rock trading in Italy. But Gemini was first. But it's difficult. Monero's like a completely different model. So it's more obfuscation than it is pure encryption.
Awesome. I was curious if you could say anything about the conversations you've been having with regulators. Should we be optimistic or pessimistic about some future regulatory state that can coexist harmoniously with something like Zcash or another privacy coin? Or if we should be pessimistic?
I'm going to get a drink of water. But I do want to answer that question because it's really important. Can I grab my glass? Wherever it is. Wherever it got. Did you take my water? That was my water. All right. No. Okay, so I've been working with regulators quite a bit. And when you say regulators, so there's regulators and policymakers, and then there's national. There's some local like NYDFS. There's some national. There's some international organizations like FATF. There's other regulatory bodies like JVC, JFSA in Japan, and MAS in Singapore. And there's a lot of sneakiness that's going on with some of it. So generally speaking, regulators do not want privacy. Or they kind of understand the argument for privacy, but privacy from everybody else, but they want a backdoor. And so, thank you. So I had a conversation with, this is on camera, right? I had an organization with a regulatory body here in the U.S. They were trying to get a better understanding. They had published something out there asking for more information related to zero knowledge. If you really want to research who that is, you can go look that up on the web. But we did a briefing for them, but it was all, why can't we have a backdoor? It's like, well, even if we wanted to build a backdoor, which we don't, we can't. Because what's going to happen, it's just going to get forked. But that's what they want to know. And it's very kind of one-dimensional. And you say, okay, well, look, if you have visibility into everybody's transactions for, because everybody's transactions are on public blockchain for everybody to see for all time, you have visibility into that. That's what you want, right? Yep, that's what we want. Okay, China has visibility into that. Is that what you want? No. North Korea has visibility into that. Is that what you want? No. Somebody's future employer has visibility into that. Is that what you want? No. Just build us a back door. Well, who's going to hold the keys? Well, we can trust somebody like Google to hold the keys. What we know about every organization, including the US government, nobody is able to protect data. Everything has been hacked. Everything has been hacked. And it doesn't matter if it's even encrypted behind the scenes, that stuff gets hacked and it gets leaked. Nobody can protect it. The only way you can protect it is to have it encrypted with you. That's it. So what they're trying to do, though, is a couple different things. There's an international organization. I'm glad to ask this question. There's an international organization called FATF, Financial Action Task Force, right? Which is this conglomeration of all of these countries around the world, and they put out guidelines. You don't have to follow the guidelines, but if you don't follow the guidelines, then you're on a blacklist, right? And you don't get all these kind of financial benefits of being part of this international group. So there's a lot of pressure to follow the guidelines. Well, who is FATF really? It's a combination of the US Treasury, it's a combination of JFSA. In Japan, it's a combination of other people, other powers. In Japan doesn't want privacy coins, or hasn't wanted privacy coins. They banned all of them after a CoinCheck hack in 2018. They were trying to protect their citizens. What they largely care about is money laundering, but also dark markets and some other things. And so their kind of initial knee-jerk was to get rid of everything. And we've had these long conversations with FSA, and they say, well, okay, we understand the need for privacy, but we want KYC on all the wallets. So any wallets that's used, and then we've already seen this happen in Korea. This has happened in Korea already, but Japan wants the same thing, which just means that you can't have edge. You can't have edge without them KYCing. It's not going to work. Like, it's an impossibility, right? That source code will go out and people will use their wallets, but that's what they're pushing for. So they're pushing that through FATF, and then what do we see happen with the infrastructure law? So the infrastructure law in Washington, D.C., got added this language, which is this very broad language. So what do regulators do? They influence policy, and they influence policy so that it's very broad, and then they can interpret it very strictly. So we saw it with the Bank Secrecy Act. So now, $10,000 and it has to be disclosed. Stuff gets disclosed as a SAR, a suspicious activity report. And then they decide to change a variable now that they want it $600. But BSA, to begin with, unconstitutional. It breaks the Fourth Amendment, right? They can't search through your data without a warrant. But that's what's happening with BSA. What happened with Patriot Act? Same thing. Like, we need to save all the people. We need to protect all the people. So we're going to have this policy that's very, very broad, and then regulators can lock it down. What happened with infrastructure? In the back rooms, it's Yellen, it's Gensler, it's Warren working on language. That's what was happening, crafting language to get in there so they could interpret it as broadly as possible. So if you ask me if I'm optimistic or positive or pessimistic, like, I'm a realist, but I want to believe that we're going to get to the HTTPS of blockchains. And whether, by the way, if Monero wins because it's best, or Pirate Chain, actually I don't care, right? That's not why I'm in it, right? It's not about it. It's about protecting our freedoms. And in order to have economic freedom, we have to have privacy. But we've got to fight these battles with regulators, because that's kind of in their nature to work that way. So anyway, sorry, long diatribe.
Any other questions?
We got time for one more.
Can you name a good cogent explanation of zero knowledge proof?
Can I give you an example?
Well, yeah, any reference work you can think of. It gives a good in-depth explanation.
Well, I can give you papers that get
Yeah, okay.
and you can go into some of the zero cash stuff that was what was Zcash is built on.
Zcash.
So I'm like, if you want to get me afterwards, I can send you some links.
Okay.
It's very complicated math, and it's stuff that the one thing that's super cool, by the way, when Zcash was invented with zero knowledge, there was like a half a dozen people in the world that understood this stuff and how to make it work. The 7 scientists that invented it knew how to do the math, but they didn't know how to do the engineering, and we had like 3 of the engineers that knew how to do it. That's not the case anymore. What's awesome is, like, the whole world is blown up with zero knowledge, so now we've got these kind of the roll-up stuff that's happening. We've got it being used, part of zero knowledge being used in Monero, and all these people are getting a better understanding. So we're building this momentum, and it's getting implemented in more and more tech, which is amazing. So there are actually more resources out there. There's actually a really cool video that I can send you. There's it's like a progression, and it's a professor out of MIT. What's that? That's the channel where it starts with the 5-year-old that he's explaining it to. He's explaining zero knowledge to a 5-year-old, and then he explains it to a high schooler, and then he explains it to a college student, and then he explains it to like a PhD. So it goes through this whole kind of progression. That might be a great place to start, because then you can kind of move through it and then go as deep as you want to go.
We did have one more.
So I have a question and I have a statement on zero knowledge proofs.
Mm?
So an easy way that I explain it to people is knowledge of something in room. So if, it's the green sock example. So the green sock on the safe. So if you can say, what's on top of the safe, you wouldn't necessarily know that unless you're in the room. You could say green sock. And so there's a way to kind of proof that without actually being in the room, had you been in the room before. So my question is, why moving away? Why are you moving away from proof of work?
Oh, great question. By the way, I'm going to give you another example, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Another one that's used often when explaining zero knowledge, just conceptually, is where's Waldo? And so if you have like a picture like this, and you've got Waldo all over, how do you prove that you know where Waldo is without disclosing the actual location? So you can have a where's Waldo picture, and the person that knows where he is can cut out a little sized window for Waldo on a piece of cardboard and put it over the picture somewhere, right? So then when somebody sees the picture, they can see, okay, I can identify that Waldo exists. without seeing exactly where it is in the picture. Where it gets like super, super complicated is zero knowledge is probabilistic. It's not even 100% certain. But you're dealing with such high probabilities that like it basically impossible that it would be wrong. So there's a number of advantages. So why are we moving to proof of stake potentially? So this is something that ECC is pushing forward, but the community hasn't bought off on it necessarily yet. So we've got to go hold through that thing. It's not just for there's people that think that it's necessary for protecting the environment. There's people within ECC that feel that, but that's not why we're choosing that strategy. There's also usability benefits. So there's questions of like, how do you deal with questions like finality? And transaction rollbacks when you're going cross-chain. So if we're moving, the idea with ZAC is that ZAC, the asset, is the product, and ZAC, the asset, can live off of the Zcash chain on other chains as well. And so there's some trickiness in there as it relates to that. We also want to hear more from Zcash holders. So there was always this desire, and Zuko and Vitalik are buddies, and they've talked about doing proof of stake for a long time. But the challenge is like that initial distribution of coins. So if you launch a new project and you immediately go to proof of stake, then very few people hold the majority of the coins. But if you do a model where over a long period of time the coins can be distributed, then it allows for moving to proof of stake more fairly. So it's something actually we've talked about for a long time, but it just wasn't feasible to do. So there's a couple of reasons.
All right, great questions, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. This is awesome. Let's give a big round of applause for Josh from Zcash, Electric Coin Company.
Did anybody send me a shielded transaction, by the way?
Oh yeah, let's check. Let's check to see who won the speaker.
All right, let me check my wallet.
And I didn't notice anybody who wants to come up and promote themselves standing over here on the right-hand side. So if you have something to say after he's done, now is the time to line up.
Was there one with MP6FQ? That one came in at 8 p.m. exactly. Is that you? All right, come show me your address and it's all yours.
Oh, all right. Well, looks like we got a winner. All right. So when you got here, you may. Oh, well, they're still working on the winner.
No,
if he's not, we're not gonna.
That is you.
We're not gonna blame him.
Yep. That is him.
Oh, we did get a winner. Look at that. Hey. Jackpot. So you may have seen when you walked in the door, there's a QR code that's been floating around for Edge, right? And if you scan the QR code, you get entered into the chance for the raffle, which will be happening shortly. So boom, if you haven't gotten it already, make sure you scan. I'll get out of the way so you can scan that. And then you'll be able to enter yourself into the raffle. So also don't forget Thursday mornings. You can come live, get in-person help. What?
I can take it.
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Michael. I do support. So every Thursday we set up down in Portal. It's the coffee shop at the corner. You'll see a little like Edge stand, and yeah, we take people and walk them through how to use the wallet, or you can set up in advance if you'd like by shooting us an email or give us a call.
All right. Well, while you guys are still doing that, let's bring up our first lightning round guest so he can speak about what he's passionate about.
All right. My name is also Josh. I'm Josh Emerson. I'm a co-founder and CEO of a company called SanDiego. All these guys the speakers, they're awesome. They're going west. They're doing new things, right? What we're doing is a little bit different. We're doing something that's very normal, but we're using blockchain technology to make it better, right? So we offer commercial loans, and then we're breaking them down to $100 pieces for people to buy. but we're using security tokens, right? So it makes it cheaper, it makes it faster, it gives liquidity, right? So normally when you invest in real estate, there's no liquidity, there's not a lot of transparency, right? So that's what we do. Sans Bank, SANS Bank. You can go to our Twitter. We have a longer 20 to 30 minute webinar going on next week. So sign up for that. I've also got a QR code if you want to talk to me afterwards, and you can scan it and sign up for it. It's awesome. Passive income through real estate, all done on the blockchain. Cool.
Thanks, Josh. Hey guys, Jordy here, native SanDiegan. I work with Blockdaemon. We're infrastructure providers. We set up white label validators, dedicated nodes. We have infrastructure for staking for wallets and other companies. So if you guys want to know more about that, reach out to me. I'll be around. What's that? Yeah, we just got it a week and a half ago. Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Jordy?
Yeah, don't forget to hit up Jordan from Blockdaemon. So, all right. Let's thank our sponsors again, BitRefill and Edge and Coinstructive. And let's give a big round of applause for Andrew for donating his time to help with AV tonight. He does bar mitzvahs, weddings, you know it. You call him, he'll help you out. Just kidding. He might, I don't know. He takes Bitcoin too. All right. Oh, wow, look at that. That wheel filled up nicely.
All right, we have 2 giveaways tonight. One is a super cool swag bag. Come find me after the giveaways for both of the items. We're going to go ahead and do the swag bag first, and then the $50 in Bitcoin giveaway. All right, let's go ahead and do it. Can I get a drum roll? All right, it looks like James. Do we have a James? James? All right, so come find me afterwards. We'll get you the swag bag. You know what? I'm going to keep you in here, and then we're going to go for the $50. All right, $50 in Bitcoin. Drum roll, everybody.
Big bucks, no whammies, and
Joe. All right. There we go. All right, so we actually do have the help desk set up in the conference room, so you can go get your $50 over there. And to anybody who downloads Edge tonight, you can get $5 in Bitcoin just for downloading Edge. So Michael will go ahead and be in the conference room at the help desk. Go ahead and shoot him your hardest questions. He's a rock star, and he can help you out with those. And we're also downstairs on Thursday mornings at Portal, so it's a great help.